Hello. Today I would like to introduce to you our latest development, the Digilive16, a compact digital mixing console. The product has been designed using high-end mixing console technology available in our group, which has been condensed into this very powerful but compact mixer. The Digilive16 has 12 microphone inputs, 4 of them on combi jacks, 2 stereo pairs, a SPDIF input, and USB playback of MP3 and WAV files. On the output side, we have 8 fully assignable outputs, 2 of them labeled as master left and right, and 6 to be used for auxiliaries or monitors. We have dedicated monitor outputs as well. These are in parallel to the headphone output on the front. A USB on the back and on the front panel allows to connect a Wi-Fi dongle and a USB stick in parallel. The mixer is operated using 8 motorized faders, a motorized master fader, select buttons for each channel, a solo button and a mute button for each channel. The 7-inch touchscreen can be used to operate almost any function on the mixer. The total 20 input channels are grouped into 2 layers. Layer 1 showing channel 1 to 8 microphones. Layer 2 showing microphone channels 9 to 12. The stereo 1, stereo 2, the SPDIF input and the USB playback input. The third layer is the bus layer. We have 4 mono buses to be used as subgroups or auxes, 4 stereo buses for auxes monitoring or as effect buses, and the master bus, which can be brought to the screen by hitting the select button above the master fader. Each input has a full input channel strip with a delay, a high pass filter, a routing section 48 volt and phase invert, a 4-band parametric EQ, a dynamic section with a gate and a compressor, a routing section to send the channel signal to the different buses, and an output section to set the panning into the bus and LR, mute, solo, and a copy of the channel fader. For the buses, we also have an input section which shows the send to the stereo buses. In this case, the 4 mono buses can be routed into the stereos and LR. The insert to the effects, and the same parametric EQ as on the channels. On this section we see which channel actually route to a particular bus. So if we check the next bus, there will be different channel routings. On the output side there is a delay, a panning into the master, and solo and mute and the fader again, like on the channel. The setup page can be operated by hitting the setup button. It will give you an overview of the serial number, current IP address, and various other settings. The maintenance system can be called from this page, as well as the Wi-Fi setup. In the setup we also have the patch page, which allows you to route any of the physical outputs to the buses. A meter page, the effects routing section, scene for storing and recalling presets that you set up previously, the player for USB playback and recording, and a monitor section with an oscillator which allows you to send white noise, pink noise, a sine signal to the different buses. This is mainly for testing the console or setting up the room, along with monitor, headphone, gain and solo settings for PFA and AFL. Now I will show you how to set up and use effects on the Digilive mixer. Starting from the channel, you have several options. For a vocal effect, like a light chorus or a delay effect, you will most likely insert this directly on the channel, which can be done in the input section here. In this case, modulation would be selected. Now delay would be selected. For a reverb, you will probably most likely want to set this up as an effects bus. And this is what I will show you now. So let's assume we want some reverb on the vocals. The first thing we do is we route the vocal signal to the effects bus. Let's assume bus 6 is our effect bus. So we go to the send to bus section on the channel, select bus number 6 and the desired amount of effect we want. Then we need to go to the bus section to actually insert the effect. So bus 6, we see channel, vocal channel is already sent here. So what we do is we enter the input section and select, for example, reverb 1. The effect itself can then be set up from the FX menu by double tapping the effect. Here you find a shelving EQ for the input of the effect, a dry wet, which in case of a bus effect, you will probably want to leave it full wet, because the bus will contain only the effect part. For the reverb here you have several programs, halt, rooms, played. So let's assume we want a warm room, set up the reverb time, and you're most likely done. So what you will need to do next is make sure the bus also sends to the LR, to your master output, and set the desired level on the effects bus. We may want to edit the bus, to example EFX, a more easy way to do this is actually through the send function on the console. Back to the channel layer, we can now set up any other channel to also send to this effect bus, so we will add reverb to the according channel. Let's assume we want some reverb also on the drums. All we need to do is select the effects bus and the desired amount of effect. A more easy way to do this is through the send to bus function. By enabling this, we actually have all the sends to the buses on the faders. Bus number 6, now our effects bus, is here. So the amount to be sent to the bus can be set up here. If I want another channel, I simply select it. Using the mute button, select the send and the fader for the amount. So this way I can go through all the channels quickly and set up the effect. Okay, following I will show you how to set up a monitor bus for an external monitoring, for example on the stage. To do this, you enter the send to bus section by double tapping here. Then select the desired bus you want to set as an monitoring bus. Let's assume it's a mono bus because you only have a mono speaker maybe. Bus number 4. You enable it here and you enable the send value to the monitoring for this channel. You can tap through the channels up here, or another way is through the send to bus function. You can actually use the faders and the mute button to select and set the level to this bus, which is rather quick. So this one. So depending on the amount of effects you want. Once you set this up, you need to go to the bus layer. You will see the channels actually sending here, and the bus fader will control the amount of volume sent to the monitoring output. The monitoring output has to be set in the setup section, patches. Let's assume you want to use output 1. Default this routes to bus number 1. In this default setting you would have your bus number 4 on output 4 already, but let's assume we want it on 1. All you do is select custom and select the desired bus on output 1. So now output 1 will actually on the back supply you your monitoring signal you just set up. Okay, one more feature is our player, which can be accessed through setup and recorder. If you enter a USB stick into the console, the system will automatically scan the stick and look into each subfolder and so on, and will finally supply a list of the songs it found on the stick, which you can then select for playback, pause and play through the button here, or actually through the hardware button on the console. This is quite nice because if you're not on this page, you can still start and stop the audio. You will find the audio on the USB input on layer 2. So since this is routed to LR already, if you set the fader accordingly, you will get audio there. Start and stop through the button. Okay, a few more words about the EQ. It can be opened from the touchscreen by tapping on the EQ icon. It features a full 4-band parametric EQ with frequency, gain and Q setting for the bandwidth. Operation is either by touching the screen, selecting the band and moving the finger, by the soft rotary encoders down here, or actually by the hardware encoder to the right, which will always control the selected control. We have a library function where you can store your own settings to be copied between channels or actually even shows. And on the top you can quickly switch between different channels from one EQ setting of a channel to another. On the left you have again the option to select, but most likely you will want this by simply touching the according section on the screen. A bypass will bypass the EQ in audio, still show the graph in grey though. Flat will actually flat the EQ, so you can start from the default settings again. Next is the compressor, actually a full dynamic section with a gate and a compressor. The gate is not a typical noise gate, it's more an artistic gate to be used, for example, on drums. So you can set the attack time, hold time, release time, threshold, which will be visualized in this graph here, and the amount of reduction. Switch on through the in button, and you will see the gate working by this meter bar here. The compressor is a vintage style compressor, so it actually operates quite soft like an analog opto compressor. Again, you have attack release, you have a make-up gain, the ratio, and the threshold here. Each of these functions can be controlled by the rotary, hardware rotary encoder to the right once you selected them. Again, we have a library and we can jump between channels here like on the EQ. The compressor features a sidechain which actually allows you to use any other channel's input or post EQ signal to be used as a control signal for this particular channel. This is useful, for example, in drum compression, where you would probably want to use a single drum as a gate to all the other drums, so you will then use this drums channel in the sidechain of all the drum channels. With the Digilive we designed a compact yet very powerful mixer aimed for live events, and it's still very easy to use. Thank you for your attention.